We're live. Unprecedented.
Hello.
How you doing, man?
Good, Lee. How are you?
Yeah, I'm very well, thank you.
Good.
Let
Good
us
to
know
see
if you
you.
can hear us and you can see us clearly, etc. Because this is, I mean, it's not quite my first rodeo, but close. We did a sound check maybe a fortnight or 3 weeks ago or something like that. And then we were supposed to go live. I can't remember when it was now. Is it like a week ago? Close to something like that. And I forgot to
Yeah.
cancel it. It was just running. So
Let me just give a shout out to Dr. Volker. He's like on fire. Like I don't think he's missed anything. He's a great supporter to our community, and he's also a student in our carnivore certification. So great to see you, Volker.
awesome. Yeah.
And Volker, now that you're here, why don't you comment? How did you have you made it to Volker's in the comments right now. Volker, have you made it to Lee's module yet about fiber? Hello, everybody else. Good to see you.
You got the feral grandma as well. And my mum's just showed up. And Coke was in the house. There you go.
It's such a supportive family. This is good.
Yeah, you bet.
Oh, and we have Paul. Paul, good to see you. Just saw you logged in. Paul's
Cool.
another student in our carnivore certification program. But Lee, how about you just go ahead and talk about what your goal was in that module that you put together for your audience who don't know who I am. I'm Coach Peter. I put together Carnivore Coach International, and we certify coaches all over the world on the carnivore lifestyle. And Ken Carnivore here volunteered to put together one of our modules, which is incredible. And Lee, do you want to talk about what your goal was in that module? What were you hoping to communicate with the students?
Sure. So I think first of all, it's quite important to state that it's definitely a case study. You know, that the complexity and nuance around anybody's story kind of thing and their health journey is very, very important. All the little details and things. And as we know, there's so many confounding variables. We can't just say absolutely this was 100% the biggest culprit. It caused all the problems and that kind of thing. And so that was important in how I approached this. And I think that you agreed. Just having integrity and being really front up and real about that. But of course, I think that really just to address the myths, the fiber fallacies, because it's heavily promoted amongst health gurus. It's in the literature, you know, constantly, and it's amazing that you can do a Google search today, ask ChatGPT, and they keep recycling the same things, echoing the lies, if you like, about how important and how vital fiber is, when by definition it's just not. And so, to tap into the nuance around my story, the nuance around fiber. Of course, you've got different types of fibers, etc. A little bit of interesting information that pertains to my outcome. I have a bit of a unique insight to how food digests. If it doesn't, what's the most problematic? If you have gut issues and things like that. So, taking all that into consideration and how that ties in very, very well with autoimmunity, because a lot of people with gut issues, or a lot of health issues, that's underpinned by having leaky gut. And so by definition there, you have sort of compromised the integrity of your gut. You probably have undigested food particles, bacteria, etc., passing through into the bloodstream where that's not where we want those things to be. And that can trigger and offset autoimmunity. And for me, obviously, I spoke about my unique story with ulcerative colitis and unfortunately losing my entire colon before I was 30 years old, age 28. And many other people, it could be a skin condition, but the problem seems to start in the gut. And it's, oh goodness, I don't know, I wouldn't like to guess how many people, but it seems like 1 in 3, just based on me and people that I have conversations with, have some kind of autoimmunity. Yeah. And just recently, Peter, it's kind of a good thing and a bad thing. In my community the other day, a lady posted this thing that's happening in certain airports and certain places around the world. They're actually catering for people like me. We're known as ostomates, and they have these toilet little icon, and it's got a little bag symbol on the stomach, and you go in there to go to the toilet, and there's little changing stations. And it's just, I mean, it's great that they're catering, but I don't like the fact that it's becoming so normalized. It's a very scary time. And so, of course, just to get the word out about what we're doing, how we address diet and lifestyle to mitigate chronic metabolic disease.
You know what? I had something happened to me that really pushed me into the lifestyle as well. And I had my own mental health issues. And then I talk about this in some other videos. I had a close friend take his own life, and that really pushed me to coach coaches and to help them, help more people. And I'm just curious, do you ever feel like if you had the chance to do it all over again, would you do it differently? And if that means that it may not have brought you to this lifestyle?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I have been asked that before, actually. It's so tricky. I think if I was to go back and be in the pain and be in the surgery, it's hard not to tap out, if you get that free pass. But in hindsight, I've been through this, I've lived it. Coming out on the other side and sitting in front of you live and well, obviously I have this permanent device stuck to my abdominal wall, but would I go back given that I've already been through it? No, I wouldn't go back. I feel I have more purpose and meaning in my life now, helping other people, talking about, lessons that I've learned through my journey, and just, providing a playlist for people off my own beats in life, so to speak. And so, no, I think not necessarily everything happens for a reason. There's just a reason why things happen. We learn along the way. Yeah. And I'm getting, a lot of reward selfishly, I suppose, out of helping people, because it's very rewarding. I think the moment you start to live life bearing other people in mind, that's when life begins. Living by yourself, for yourself, in your own head, that's not safe. That's no way to go. And I couldn't go back. I've helped too many people. It justifies what I went through in many ways.
Yeah, I can relate to that, Lee. I think about, every morning, every night, I do think about my friend who's passed, and I still feel a little bit of guilt and sorrow for him still, and even stress. Like, I feel like almost like an anxiousness that I just feel it's so important to get this information out to the world. And I think, if it wasn't for his passing, CCI, probably we wouldn't be sitting here. Like, we wouldn't even have this opportunity to help all these other people. I had like a similar mindset. Like, it was about me, about my health, my family. And when you suffer so much, either mental or like your life change, and you said it's permanent, right? That really does push you to want to spread the message far and wide. So I can relate to that.
Yeah, for sure. It's interesting because many people relate my story with autoimmunity and gut problems, but the reason why I went carnivore was for my cognition, my mental outlook, just the way I felt. I was severely depressed, and I'd been up and down with bouts of depression in the past, but nothing like this. And you get to that point where you think, I cannot manage moments just for very long. It's very, very difficult to describe. And I've spoken about this before. If it's a physical pain, you can touch on that with different descriptive words. But to describe depression is literally no hope in the tank. You've got no reason, no way, no path, no clarity. You're in just a very dark, deep place where bad things are going on in the mind. And it's real sad, because it's become, again, it's almost normalized. But at the same time, very difficult to address. There's a lot of awareness about it, but it's very difficult to really reach people that are in that position. I don't know if I could go back, and talk to myself. It's very difficult to deliver a paragraph that's going to set you on the path to healing and feeling better about being alive. It's humbling.
Sure is. Well, we're so thankful to have you part of the program, and also wanted to say, if anyone watching has questions for myself or for Lee Kopis here, feel free to ask. And I see Dr. Volker, you commented to my question there. Gut health and fiber is on my weekend schedule. It took me longer because of my own carnivore dentist channel. Congratulations on your growth, by the way. Have you talked with, I think
I've seen him many times in the comments. Yeah, I've not actually, but.
Doctor, how do you find time to work? It's like you're always, I guess he's like a sponge. He just wants to take it all in. He's almost ready for the exam. Awesome. Yeah, your Lee's module is a bonus module. I think down the road, we would like to add it to one of the mandatory modules eventually, because I think there's such great information in there. I just try not to overwhelm the students with like all these mandatory things. I just want them to learn the basics and then kind of run out into the world with their information and then learn as they go.
Sure.
Okay, and then just wanted to comment again, Dr. Volker, luckily I was early enough to go keto to help my dad to live years longer, but sadly we cannot help everyone. That's very true. You know, you wish everybody would listen, and sometimes we don't get people on time. But again, I find when I talk to some of the coaches and students, it really does motivate them to want to help other people. So that's very inspiring.
Yeah, I do find that that's definitely a thing, you know, in this space. I think it's because it's not like, I don't know, if you sort of compare it to like a vegan way of living, it's a very different approach, totally different. I think that we care more about, you know, human health and understanding that this is the natural way to go anyway. And actually, as a consequence, it's conveniently great for animal deaths and the environment, if that's your thing, you know. And so, yeah.
Yeah, well, that's one thing I'd like to comment on. You know, there's that misconception, and I'm sure you've researched this quite a bit as well. Is there's a misconception that there's less death in a vegan diet, and I don't believe that's true for many different reasons. But just even firsthand, I grew up next to a soy farm. Like I lived on a soy farm. And I remember as a kid running around the fields, and we would be afraid to run through the fields because of all the dead animals we'd see in the fields,
Right.
Like torn apart rabbits and groundhogs and mice and all. And then I remember even on the concubines and things that would just like manage the fields, we'd be. It was so gross. Like we take sticks and like peel the dead animals off the machines. And I know that's kind of a gross example, but it's true. There's certainly much more death. Now, have you researched that at all? Like, do you know any of the numbers or statistics?
Oh, goodness. I mean, since about the 70s or 80s, you know, we've got half the amount of insects out there. Population has dropped to the 70s or 80s by 50%. If you think about, you know, 85 to 95% roughly of all of the flowering plants that need pollinators. So if you got to think about the plants, and it's all symbiotic. You can't have one without the other. Life, death, animals and plants, you know. But yeah, you've got lots of stats that people throw around, lots of vegan arguments, you know. Oh, the vast majority of crops are grown to feed animals. And that is just absolutely a fallacy, total fallacy. First of all, we're growing things for human consumption and human products. And it's the byproducts that are inedible for humans that we feed. What else are we going to do with that if you're going to go that way? But the silliest thing for me is that 2/3 of all agricultural land is marginal. That's their ideal diet. If you just stick them out on pasture, certainly on hills, you're not going to get a combine harvester on these crazy terrains, you know, and you've got so much unused land that why would we knock down rainforest to grow maize or field corn and then use that as an argument against animal agriculture? It's like, well, don't do that. Just stick them out on pasture, stick them out on grass. It's fantastic for replenishing the biodiversity in that area, in that ecosystem, if you like. And there's nothing unnatural about it. The ruminants take care of everything by themselves. Methane's biogenic carbon cycle. It's not new carbon, it's recycled carbon. And the vast, you know, if you look at actually, if you replaced a lot of the field corn and maize and stuff like that, and you just replace pasture and you start cattle out on pasture, you'd be amazed how many people you could feed. I hear this argument so many times. Oh, you would never feed the whole world only meat. First of all, don't worry about it. And there's never going to be a time where the whole world goes carnivore. You know, it's just not going to happen. So that's number one. But number two, I think it is possible. It's just doing it right. It's actually making proper use of the land in the best way, in the most advantageous and pragmatic way. But we seem to cause so many problems, and it's just a lot of propaganda. And I understand why it appeals as the holy grail of lifestyles. You know, really, what's the catch? It's like great for health, great for the environment, great for animals. Turns out that it's far, far worse than going carnivore, which, yes, there's direct animal deaths. But if you cared the most, look, if what's his name? Earthling Ed, if he ever wanted to debate me, he always asked, you know, why are you not vegan yet? I would say, why are you not doing the diet that's best for animal deaths yet? Because if you really truly cared, and you're not going to be a hypocrite about this, make your way through a ruminant animal like a cow, right, that ate only grass for its life. You killed one animal. That animal would have ate that grass whether you didn't eat it or not. Any other deaths as a consequence isn't direct, has nothing to do with you. Make your way through a cow. That's one animal. It's local. It's better for the environment for that. You're not having vessels ship stuff. There's no glyphosate. There's none of this. No antibiotics here, unless they absolutely require it. CAFOs are a nightmare because now they need more antibiotics because they're sick. That increases methanogens, methane production goes. I just find it such a hypocritical position to be in. And if they were truly caring about animals and not just being right and caring about their ideology, they think that they would open their mind up to this and say, do you know what? I'm going to eat a cow once a year. And that way I did my very best for all of these facets that we care about with our health and the environment, deaths, etc. So, yeah.
Yeah, it makes a big difference. Like when you pick up a nice shiny green avocado from the grocery store, you don't see how it got there. Like all the gasoline, all the fields that were destroyed for the avocado. The actual human deaths with the corruption in the avocado. I gotta be careful what I say, but if you research where avocados come from and the politics involved, it's horrendous if you do some research on that, especially coming from Mexico. Lee, do you want to give some of your followers a shout out here? I see some comments.
Let me see. I see Bill Cook. Hello, Bill.
Bill, nice to see you, Bill.
Got any questions? I'm trying to think. Usually it's funny because this is brand new to me. Usually I have like the normal comments, the private and the questions and things. Stephen, obviously, I'm often live with him and he moderates and we put all the questions in a different place. But there's plenty more going on than I can actually see.
We're beginners, Steve. Coach Stephen Thomas.
He's nailed it. He's really got it down, hasn't he?
We're practicing here. We want to be as good as you one day. And everyone else, how do we sound? How's the audio? How's the video?
You've got a gardener here. This winter, as a professional gardener, I was killing 100 caterpillars a week on 8 broccoli plants alone. Multiply that. Yeah, this is what I mean. It's the insect population. I don't know why. Again, vegans will say, "Oh, you're speciesist," as if like we're putting ourselves above all the other species. But then when it comes to the insects, they're like, they're just insects.
Yeah.
It's like, it's just a bird, or it's indirect. I didn't mean to kill it. It's, it just died as a consequence of growing that plant. It's like, well, you're buying it.
It's human nature that we think the smaller something is, the more insignificant it is, right? It's just kind of.
Yeah.
I tell vegans too. It's like, I have friends who are vegans, and I've told them to their face. I said, if you really care about the animals and if you really care about the environment, the most noble thing you can do, the kindest thing, is die. Like you die, you're going to give lots of food to all these species, right? And you're going to stop killing all these animals that are killed. Just for something to live, something must die. It's like going back to the basics of Lion King, right? It's like the cantaloupe and the grass. It's like, and the circle of life. And the lion. Yeah, the lion killed the cantaloupe. When the lions die, they become the dirt and the grass, and the cantaloupes eat the grass. And it's not a pretty thing. Like the world is a very nasty place, and it's unfortunate. And I'm against factory farming that harms animals and disrespects them. So that's why I think it's very good to find local farmers and ranchers like you mentioned, Lee.
Yeah, for sure. That's a great point. Actually, I didn't really kind of specify, but yeah, obviously pasture raised, that animals eat grass. They're not usually having antibiotics, at least over here, hormones, etc., that kind of thing. The meat is more nutrient dense, and so that's what I always go for. I mean, I'm definitely against animal agriculture. It's a shambles. It's no better, and that's taxing the environment again if that's your thing. So yeah, that's why I would say at least a lot of vegan arguments against my unique position. It doesn't really work because I'm actually sourcing food pretty much I can see from my house. It's very local. It's most nutrient dense. This is the thing that people don't understand as well. If you're thinking about feeding the masses, how much grain, how much fruit, how much veg, legumes, Well, you need to get your iron, your vitamin A, DHA, EPA, carnitine, carnosine. You're going to have to synthesize these things if you're vegan. Carnitine, and that's also going to be a detriment to other nutrients. So when you look at the nutrient profile, that's why you only really have to eat about a cow a year. That it's satiating the protein, the fat. It's delivering the body everything it needs. I think anyone who's carnivore realizes that you don't have to just graze all day long. It's very, very satisfying, and you feel so great because you're giving your body what it needs to run properly. So for so many reasons, when you look at the amount of food that you'll have to eat and the amount of times, where has all that come from, plus the glyphosate and the deleterious downstream effects of that, not just directly killing animals to keep them away from the plants, but also what happens with the runoffs and with the rain washing it through and it hitting certain, areas where it's killing fish and aquatic life and that kind of thing. It just goes on and on and on. I've realized much of what we call progress is regress, and it's about getting back to nature's way. That life on life's terms and nature's way. We've got a lot of progress and we can't go all the way back, of course. I'm not complaining that when it's brutally cold, I'm inside a box with a blanket and heating if I need it. That it's great, but there's a price to pay for all of this, and so it's about balancing it out with the right protocols, the right strategies. And it does seem abundantly clear to me that carnivore, certainly a ruminant nose to tail style diet, is absolutely the best way to go for every metric.
Yeah, it makes me smile actually. Some of when you were mentioning that, like the circle of life, as you say, and like humans who are like incredible individuals who are trying to get this regenerative farming. And in our carnivore certification program, we actually have some people involved in the industry, in the environmental industry, and also farmers and ranchers who are trying to get that system going, that to keep things regenerative and not harm the environment or other animals that shouldn't be harmed. Yeah. And you also mentioned too, is like all these negative effects of plants, but that's not even to mention the human waste, like all the unnecessary fiber, like the toilet paper. I know.
Yeah, that's so true. The amount of packaging. Someone actually sent me something a while ago, and it's like, wow, that's a great idea for a video. It was just general waste from eating like a standard Western and a plant-based diet. All the packaging, all the amount of bins that they're taking out, the cleaning products, this and that. You go carnivore, it's very simplified, it's clean, and you don't often require so much clear up. There's not so much waste. And again, you've got to look at that as another facet, that another angle you can look at it at, that it's got to be the best way to go.
Yeah. So maybe, and that's not even to mention the health benefits, right?
There you go. There you go. How do we make supplements? Well, probably in a factory somewhere. It goes on and on.
And then the staff who do drive the cars, and harm the environment driving their cars and all these things. Like if you even walk, like I think about it all the time about packaging. You walk through a store and you see all the plants and the packaging that's involved, all the plastics, all the papers. Look at like big organizations like we have Tim Hortons here in Canada. People leave their home. They preheat their car. They walk to their car. They drive to Tim Hortons. They get their double, which is like a coffee, which is 2 creams and 2 sugars. And they get their low grilled cheese, and then they drive home. Like, we do need to kind of return back to the basics here. Do you mind if I read out a couple of the comments here?
Go for it. No, go for it.
Paul is an awesome student of ours. He's a graduate of our nutrition program. Nice. Incredible coach, and he's also a sports coach. So if anyone's looking for a really great coach, I recommend reaching out to PD Carnivore Coaching. Paul, a very intelligent man. He's a coming up Eddie, I think.
Right. Oh, nice. Wow.
And he's also a student in our fitness certification as well. So Paul said, I unfortunately can't break the grip of vegetarianism has on some of my family. Even with the arguments you made, I think identity is a big part of why people stay in their ways rather than principles that lead them in the first place. Would you agree? Or
identity, I suppose I would want to know specifically what they mean by that, but I think I understand what you mean. I mean, to a point, there's inertia, isn't there, from so many levels, and I think that I've spoken to many of my older customers just here and there, not in an aggressive way, very open-minded. In fact, I never I'm open to have the conversation whenever anybody's ready. I don't like to force things or push things on people. And often it will be, pertaining to my health journey. They might ask, oh, you had that surgery. How's your health? How are you getting on? What do you do? You look great. What are you eating, etc. And that's how it comes about. And I find that those people, you can touch a bit of a nerve with them, and they can get offended, because I think that you're challenging their beliefs. And not only that, it's that they've adhered to what they've heard, and to tell them that they've necessarily, they might have been wrong, or you've been duped, you've been conned, that taps into their ego and their pride, and that they don't like that. And that's pretty normal. I don't think, goodness, I mean, it's like us doing carnivore and then hearing about this other thing, and it's like, no, you're wrong, and blah, blah, blah. It's going to be very difficult. But to me, I'm pretty sure all these other sort of diets and lifestyle strategies that I've tried and heard other people try, it's like, why is it that most of us end up doing this after everything else? Why is the ultimate elimination diet eliminating everything but fatty ruminant meat? Why would that be? That's not a coincidence. That's just an elemental human diet,
Yeah. But I agree with you. It's like that confirmation bias. Like, we're always looking for that, things to support our belief. Now, I want to if I could give an example here, because it doesn't just happen with vegan and carnivore, it could also happen within the carnivore community.
Sure.
And I had a call with Coach Raymond, who's been coaching people. I've been coaching longer than he has, but he's been coaching people in carnivore longer than I have. And
Right.
I talked to him for about an hour yesterday, and we had some differences of opinion. And right away, I could just feel that angst. It's like, oh man, this is uncomfortable. Like, he's disagreeing with me, and I'm disagreeing with him, and it's uncomfortable. But you really have to be humble enough. That shows growth when you say, okay, I'm willing to listen. He's going to state his points. I'm going to state my points. And we were able to find some common ground. And with Paul's suggestion, Paul talking about, with veganism and vegetarianism, I think it's really important to find that common ground when it's like, as humans, we want to do the least amount of harm. We don't want to hurt animals, right? We don't want to hurt people. And so when you kind of use that as a common ground, find things that you could talk about, dare I say, the V word, the vaccines. You could talk about vegetable oils. You can talk about factory farming. Find those things in common. So that would be my advice to anybody. And then to go even a step further, Lee, you have a service, right, where you can actually, people can book a call with a family member, and they could actually have a discussion with you, right? Like a third party.
That's right. It's so common that it's kind of like, oh, look, there's an opportunity to reach more people this way and help people this way. So the whole idea is that if you're doing carnivore, most likely you're probably alone, most likely. If not, you may have got your partner to go give it a go with you, maybe a friend or so. But most likely, if you're going out with colleagues, etc., amongst your family, certainly around Christmas time, you may be the only one that wants just meat on your plate, and that can be very difficult. And I think that a lot of people, they just worry, they're concerned about their loved one, the people that they care about, and they may be giving them a hard time, but that comes from a place of concern, which is coming from a place of love, most likely,
Mm-hmm.
And so they're worrying about, well, it's no good for your colon, it's no good for your gut. Red meat, it's no good for your, fat, it's no good for your arteries, you can have heart disease and all this kind of stuff. And also, why do you have to be so extreme? Why do you have to be so extreme? Look at you only eating red meat. It's from one extreme to another and all this kind of stuff. And so the whole idea around the service is that they book a call, and I'm happy to speak to that person by themselves or with that person who's doing carnivore. I've had a number of different scenarios, and I basically just put their mind at rest. Why it is that we're doing what we're doing, why they don't have to worry. If they have any questions, they can just relentlessly kind of challenge anything that they want. And it's about meeting them where they're at, like what you're saying. You're trying to figure out, where are you, why do you believe that? Asking questions is a really great way, because you're just returning the ball back in their court, but not in an aggressive way. You're just where are you? Why do you believe that? Where have you heard that from? What do you think so special about fiber, for example? Okay, we're not eating this. Why do you think that's crucial? What's in that we can't otherwise derive from meat, for example, and that kind of thing. So it's a really interesting concept, and when I'm living it, it's an interesting experience, because the starting position to the end of the hour or the hour and a half, whatever they book, it's usually quite a good positive outcome, really. So
great. Well, if any of our students are interested in, if they have someone in mind, reach out to me, because I'd be willing to sponsor that, to put some money in for that service. So you can message me first, and then we could set you up with a call with Lee. Does that sound good?
Sure, absolutely, man. Yeah.
Hello, everybody else. Good to see you. Any other questions out there? And then, Lee, I'd like you to kind of touch on a little bit more of, if there's a message that you could tell people about, you touch on this a little bit, about soluble and insoluble fiber. Could you talk about the differences between the two, and is there benefits to either one?
So all plants contain both. They vary to different degrees in terms of the ratio. So some plant foods may be higher in insoluble, some soluble. So what we're really talking about is the fiber that swells in water, and the fiber that's just like the real roughage stuff, the lignin, the cellulose, the hemicellulose that you'll see, the very fibrous, stringy, and they're supported by lignin. This is all kind of the insoluble, if you like. Now, both of them are non-essential. So they're not vital. We're not missing anything if you don't consume these things. Furthermore, if you do consume these things, you're actually not really benefiting by including them in your diet if you're eating things like meat and eggs and fish, because what happens is it kind of gets in the way of absorption of certain nutrients. Certainly the soluble, because you could kind of creates like a gel, if you like. It's like, that's what I mean. It swells in water, creates like a gel. So that gets in the way of nutrient absorption, getting to your lumen, the nutrients in your food. But then you have different arguments. So some people will say, well, the benefit of, the insoluble is that it speeds up digestion. And then you have the contrary with the soluble. And you think, well, it's funny to make an argument like it's a benefit to speed up or slow down digestion when whole plant foods contain both. So it's kind of like, well, who's going to win the race on this one? What plant foods, how much, and that kind of stuff. But apart from anything else, if you think about it, it's totally indigestible. All of it, all fiber in plants, ends up down the toilet. All of it. So it doesn't enter the bloodstream. If what we eat to nourish ourselves, which means we want food coming in to the bloodstream, essential nutrition, fatty acids, amino acids, and micronutrients, vitamins and minerals. And we get this from animal nutrition. Certainly if you're eating lots of fatty red meat, if you're having some eggs, if you're having some wild fish. I'm a big fan of wild fish, actually, despite the heavy metals that people worry about, etc. Things like that. But yeah, so both are non-essential. Now, they're going to create gas. So people that suffer with gut issues, for a couple of reasons, if you have ulcers, like an ulcerative situation down there, or you have diverticulosis, you've got the outpouching in the distal colon, fiber is going to be very, very irritating, on those vulnerable weak spots in the digestive tract. So that's one reason why you absolutely wouldn't want to consume them while you're trying to heal your gut. If you have a brain condition, you have a gut condition. It's like their vagus nerve, they speak to each other. And so for those reasons, fiber is just going to get in the way. And like you say, it's just like adding bulk to your stool, extra toilet paper, extra waste. It's totally unnecessary. And you'll find that when you cut it out, and I would say do it slowly, you don't want to do it overnight. When you cut it out, you'll find that your digestion is so much smoother. The lack of gas is liberating. It's nice.
Yeah.
Or my bag would fill up like a balloon eating onions and broccoli and whatever, celeriac, goodness, whatever was on my plate. And when you cut that stuff out, you don't get the gas. And so again, if you think about from a vegan perspective, if they're talking about methane being so bad, why are you eating so much fiber? Again, it's kind of a bit hypocritical, isn't it? But
what about all that good stuff from fiber, like butyrate and all that? That tons of good stuff that we get from fiber. Actually, before you answer that, I just want to give a shout out. You got a super chat from Cam's dad one, so thank you for that.
Cool, nice, appreciate that, man. Thank you.
Yeah, $2, not two. Thank you for that. I could buy a coffee with that.
£2.
£2.
where were we? Oh, right. So, right. Okay. These fantastic things, right? Butyrate. So butyrate is a short chain fatty acid, which is a saturated fat. Once again, if your argument is that saturated fats is bad, but fiber is good, that doesn't make sense, because it's butyrate is what is generated as a byproduct. Once it's partially fermented in the colon, we have certain organisms that reside there, and as a consequence of partial fermentation, this is the benefit that we get, which is true, butyrate, right? Which feeds the colonocytes, the biome, etc. Now, we can actually get isobutyrate from animal protein if short-chain fatty acids are so important for the gut, right? And actually, arguably, it feeds the colonocytes at a greater degree. There's research on this. But also, more importantly, if you think about in nutritional ketosis, so when you gravitate into a carnivore diet, a meat-centric ketogenic style diet, you have beta-hydroxybutyrate, a dominant ketone body floating around in your bloodstream, feeding all of the colonocytes, feeding your biome, feeding your gut, and all of it thoroughly, not just conveniently the parts of the gut the fiber comes into contact with. So it speaks volumes to me. I mean, if that is such a beneficial thing, we derive isobutyrate from animal proteins, isovalerate, isopropionate, short-chain fatty acids, which are saturated fats, from animal protein, but also when you're not depriving yourself, is a bad use of the word, you're restricting carbohydrates. Your liver makes all the glucose you need. When you restrict them to a certain point, some people might go, no more than 40 grams or no more than 25 grams, you're going to be in nutritional ketosis. And that's where we benefit a great deal, to feed the gut that way without the gas, without blocking nutrients. And so you're just plain sailing, you're cruising. It's kind of like a smooth flight compared to a really rough, turbulent flight. It's like, who's going to want the turbulent flight if you can get the benefit, get from A to B on a smoother flight? That's the way to go.
Love it. Great answer. And during that great answer, we got a big super chat there, Lee, so
Janice.
Oh, that's Janice.
Janice,
yeah. Janice, I didn't recognize your name. Yes, Lee, looking forward to speaking with you on Sunday. Looking forward to that. And I had some similar issues that she did. I don't want to talk about in public, but I'm looking forward to chatting with you because I was able to get some answers. So looking forward to chatting with you. If you do want to share, feel free to put in the comment section, but looking forward to discussing with you privately on Sunday as well. So thank you for that.
Yeah. So I've just seen Dr. Volker. He's saying, how about an interview with you, Lee, and me, the Carnivore? Absolutely. Just reach out. LeeCopus3@gmail.com. Reach out
from the in to the out, so you could talk about and everything in between. From the chewing. And Dr. Volker, I'd love to chat with you soon too, because I used to do MMA fighting, like mixed martial arts, and I had a tooth, like I had like a jaw displacement and a couple broken teeth, and something simple. I'm like, okay, well, like I lost part of my tooth. It's not a big deal, but the amount of stress that put my body under, like it threw off my whole digestive tract. Like I wasn't able to digest food properly, even if I took time chewing. And it caused me a lot of stress for a couple of years. Finally, I'm able to calm it down, and I now have some methods. But yeah, I'd love to chat about that, because if we can give the public some pointers of how to make sure that they chew their food properly, or just I know a lot of it does turn to liquid, but if you're under stress in the mouth, like that can cause a lot of issues. So also affect your sleeping, which will throw a lot of other things out. So there's so many things that go on in the mouth, and I'd love to. That would be an awesome conversation. So
yeah, for sure, definitely.
Janice did comment, so if you don't mind, can I read that out? Yeah,
for sure, definitely.
So Janice has post-COVID condition that has gotten much worse since she got COVID the second time. There is neuroinflammation. She smells something bad that isn't there. There are other effects that are, they're probably run out of room. They are very difficult to deal with, and she's been talking with Dr. Chafee, and he's been making some good recommendations. And so she's doing the post-COVID protocol, and it's still very difficult. So I will be discussing with Janice, but if you have some advice for her, or if anyone else that has had post-COVID.
Not really, but I couldn't really speak on that, to be honest with you. My mum, funnily enough, she kind of lost taste and smell. She's got it back a lot, I think. I don't know to what degree, probably like 80% or something. But yeah, she kind of sort of went through this period of time where she couldn't taste or smell anything. That's actually, I was like, well, look, you may as well go carnivore. It's just the best way to go. So she went carnivore, and she's still carnivore. So yeah.
Okay. Did it help her at all, or?
Yeah. And look, it's good. Even like, she didn't really have any kind of real pressing issues, but it's helped her with energy, and her anxiety went down a little bit. Yeah, just a bit more of a force to be reckoned with now, I think. So that's a good thing.
And Paul, you just recommended NAC, and yeah, that I think that was one thing. So good eye on that. That was one thing that she was recommended as well. So yeah, keep the conversation going, because the more we chat about these things from your own experience, we could it's so much more useful than ChatGPT or Google or something. Like real experiences is so much more insightful.
My mum's just put she's about 90% back. Taste and smell back.
Okay, so your mom is she
Ann Copus.
Ann Copus, okay. Yeah,
Kent Copus or something.
Yeah, Carnivore Mama or something.
Yeah.
Awesome. Oh yeah, I see her there. Good. Yeah, and Bill Cook, it's good to see you again. We spoke a while back, so it's good to see you. Okay, good. Any other questions? Feel free. But Lee, I want to thank you again for doing a module in our Carnivore certification program. I know you've been very busy and everything, but what are you hoping that coaches learn the most from? Like, what do you think would be best for them to take away from our certification program, in your opinion?
Well, what I like is that it's very complete. It's very well rounded. You've got lots of different facets being addressed in lots of detail. Like you say, you have the core and then the bonus. I like the fact that you can approach it at your own pace. I suppose, really, in my mind, unfortunately, the world, in a big way, they appeal to authority. And so in many ways, it is necessary to get, accredited, get some kind of credentials behind you. You're a certified coach internationally. In that way, you can really get out there and start helping people. That's the whole point of this. I think the reason why we go carnivore, we feel amazing, and we want to spread the word, is because we just think, like, my goodness, it's so profound. I think this can help a lot of people. You realize, actually, it looks to be the closest to a species appropriate diet that you can adopt in given the modern world context, if you like. Paleo is nonsense because we're not in the Paleolithic era. Nothing against anybody that throws that around. I think that's a great way to go as a transition stage, because a lot of the if you're going to just compare ancient tubers to modern tubers, I mean, it's just so high in carbohydrates, so starch rich, it's just unbelievable. They're not the same thing. So I think really it's just to raise awareness, plant seeds, and to arm people with the knowledge and the potential to get out there and drop these massive rocks in the ocean, and just these ripple effects, these positive ripple effects touching people's lives all over the world. That's the whole aim.
Yeah. Well said. When I first started coaching people on carnivore, like, there was a lot of information I didn't know yet or understand, and there wasn't really anything that was well-rounded like that. And that was our goal, to have different perspectives. And there are other programs out there, and what I wanted ours to be different was I wanted to give the coaches and the students different perspectives. That's why we have like a dozen different instructors, maybe even more, of all these different takes, and teaching you all these different tools. Even instructors, and I just talked about before, even instructors I may have disagreement with, but I still believe in their protocol. I believe in their vision. I believe in their tools that they have. And that way, when you are approached with, let's say, a client, just like how there is in the comment section, where there's people who have questions about real specific things, the more tools in your toolbox, the better, and it's such a great community. Like, we have people like yourself, and, we have Eddie Goki and many others. Coach Stephen Thomas has his Bloods module, which is like a whole course in itself, if you want to be an expert. And then not only that, we have the students. Like, here in the comment section, we have Paul, we have Dr. Volker and others, and some of them are to be joining soon, which is good. but just communing together, trying to find common ground, what's best for the client. It's so important.
Yeah, community's underrated. Absolutely. We're social creatures, and I think that it's a shame that so many people go on their own, a lone wolf. They're taking a path by themselves, and they're eating alone. That community's huge. If you sort of join the program, you have that, as well as taking these courses, these modules at your own pace. You have support. I mean, you can ask questions to, was it Anker Verma and people like that?
Yeah, so Dr. Anker Verma, who,
Yeah.
and he's been doing incredible things in the because he actually has studies backing him up, right? And he has a whole module on how to read the scientific literature. Now, if I did a module on that, and even if it was all the correct information, I don't have any published articles, but he does.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
And when I talk about fiber, you can see firsthand what goes through the body, what's digested, right? And someone like Coach Stephen Thomas, who actually has worked with people in the blood world, and if you want someone who's brilliant and just I think he's an alien, Eddie Goki.
Oh yeah.
Whose IQ is like in the triple digits, I'm pretty sure, but you can ask him questions, and he questions everything, even things that that I would agree with. He's like, he'll even question it, like, okay, do you know that? Right?
Love that about him. He's super humble. This is what people get wrong. There's an online presence, and I'm pretty kind of genuine. I don't change my persona. Sometimes I do like a skit or something, but I'm pretty much myself. Now, Eddie puts on a little bit of a persona, right? But behind the scenes, he is probably the most scientific person I know of. We've had many talks, and the way his brain works, the way he thinks, he has a lot of integrity. He always accounts for the nuance. He's always open, and you have to listen to the way he speaks. I pride myself similarly in that I choose my words very carefully.
Yeah.
I put opinions as opinions. I won't make reckless cause and effect statements with nothing to back it up. So that's what I really appreciate. And I think a lot of people, again, they might just get offended based on what they think that they know. And then you've got this young guy sort of putting them on the back foot, thinking, oh, wait a minute, I've got everything wrong. Nah, I don't like this guy or something. They get kind of triggered or emotional about it. But believe me, he's thought 1,000 times over the same thing. He relentlessly thinks in his head, is that short? Am I right? Let me try it from another angle. Let me play this out. Let me see. Keep going. He's like, I can't disprove it. That seems to be the case, and so it's not dogmatic. It's not like a zealot. I actually liken that to a lot of people in the carnivore space, because we become so humbled, just being beaten down over and over again, trying to find all these other answers through different paths. Lots of people that have carnivore now were vegan. They were vegetarian. They went from paleo and thought, I improved, but it wasn't until I went carnivore, or they're keto, but it wasn't until I got rid of that last 5%. That's when I fixed my one or two issues that they were trying to fix. And so, it's consistency and just being relentlessly consistent with doing the right things and staying away from the wrong things, synthetic things, artificial light and processed foods and man-made inventions.
Yeah, I love what you said there too. It's like separating opinion from fact, because even I have 20 years of coaching experience, right? And it would be too easy for me to say, okay, this is a fact because it's worked for me multiple times. But can I prove it? Like, just because I have an opinion. So that's a key thing with whatever education you are getting. You have to be sure that they're separating opinion from fact. And I say very boldly in the program, I say, there are times I say, this is a system that's worked for almost, like, I'll say like 90% to maybe even 99% of people. I don't even know why it works, but I know it's worked for this amount of people. And then you could use your own discretion and your own judgment. And then we separate that from the actual facts, like the actual biology, right? Yes, and it's very important, whatever education you get, that they do separate the two. I think that's crucial.
Definitely. Agree 100% with that. Yeah. Otherwise Bart K will call you out on the interwebs.
Oh, I know. I don't want to ever be on Bart's bad side.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I tend to I'm similar to Coach Steven, because I know he has his hearing issues, and I was actually deaf for the first 3 years of my life.
Right. Didn't know that.
Yeah. So I had to do a lot of speech therapy, and every once in a while, like, it takes me a little bit longer to process and think about the words I want to say.
Mm.
And I do sometimes, things do slip out a little bit once in a while. So during lives, I get nervous. I'm like, okay, don't say anything stupid, or else Bart will find me.
Yeah. It's all right. It's all good.
There's some comments there. It looks like they had a little debate going on. Do you want to take a peek there?
I've just noticed the feral grandma. Thank you so much for that. $10. I approve of this channel. Woo!
Thank you. Well, it's your channel, not mine, but.
Let me see. Something about cholesterol. Look, I mean, just think about it from a common sense perspective, right? You can look at this in a couple of ways. If we do nitrogen stable isotope testing on, isotope ratio analysis on skeletal structures we find around the world, pre-agriculture, sorry. Different time periods, different populations, different places around the globe, and we perform the same test on these bones. It's like a repeated phenomenon. It's like 85% fatty animal nutrition in the diet, mostly from ruminant animals. That's red meat. And the fat of the land. We ate plenty and plenty of fat. We didn't cut, the fat off as we hunted these animals or anything like that. You also got to realize that they were actually really fatty as well. Super fatty, megafauna, etc. During the last ice age, what would you eat other than meat and fat? That's all there is right now to eat where they were up in the ice. Right now, it's still just meat and fat, And so you go in the wild, what are the natural tribes eating? Anywhere from 80 to 95% meat and fat, depending on the time of year. I think certain times of year, some tribes are eating 100% carnivore. And so they're eating fats, they're eating saturated fats and cholesterol. Why would our liver make something that kills us like that? Why would it be that our brain is made of saturated fats and cholesterol, also DHA? We can only find docosahexaenoic acid, which is an marine omega-3 fatty acid from animal nutrition, right? That is because we ate lots of fish and things like that grew our brains. You think about every single cell in the body, trillions, at least 50% of the membrane is made of cholesterol. We make all of our steroid and sex hormones out of cholesterol as one key ingredient. We synthesize vitamin D3 via UVB rays with cholesterol, out of cholesterol. If cholesterol and try and clog up an artery with cholesterol, it doesn't work. You have to inflict damage on it first. And guess what? Even when you inflict damage on it, what is the tissue that clogs the arteries? Well, it ain't mostly cholesterol. It's mostly collagen, scar tissue, as a consequence of patching up adhesions. And this abrasive, high turbulent flow, often increased by high blood pressure. When we go carnivore, blood pressure reduces almost all of the time. So if you think about it, our ancestors that got us here, which is the whole reason we're even having this conversation, ate lots of saturated fats and cholesterol. That is a fact. That's a slam dunk, I'm afraid. That's just absolutely nailed on. And then you think about what the body is made of and how we feel. Why would we feel so good cutting out carbohydrates and maximizing saturated fats and cholesterol? You got to remember as well, when you eat lots of cholesterol, it doesn't really raise serum cholesterol by the amount that people think. And the percentage of the cholesterol in like ribeye steaks is kind of minuscule. I think people look at the fat and think it's like 100% cholesterol or something. It's just not that way. And so cholesterol, we carry this round to repair the body, to make hormones, to maintain our structural integrity as a whole piece of machinery, as a human being. And so, again, you can't even inject cholesterol into an artery and just clog it up. It just does not happen. So, again, it seems all roads lead to Rome. This is absolutely the way to go. And why would eating this way, which usually mitigates lots of symptoms and chronic disease, we can reverse many things. I'm a big believer in that we can reverse pretty much anything. I know there's things that are still irreversible. I just think we don't understand it fully. I think we can absolutely reverse everything. And if you give your body enough time, if you can catch things early enough, and you give your body the raw materials it really needs, all the body wants to do and knows how to do best is heal. That's why you're alive. Your body constantly, repairing, maintaining everything constantly all the time. And there's always a level of stress. That's why we're alive. You know, if you think about, as you walk, you have to fall off balance and walk into it. That's the body, metabolic homeostasis. You're always off balance, but it's kind of this, to walk, you have to take a leap of faith, don't you? You have to lean forward like you're going to fall over, and then you step into it. And that's what happens. You know, you go carnivore and you balance things out. You can start reversing things as long as you catch things early enough. So to me, cholesterol is a molecule of life, not a molecule of, you know, deterioration and degradation.
Well said. You know, and I'd like to touch on that too, because when you're coaching people, and this has also happened in the mainstream carnivore space, is like when people are reintroducing carbohydrates, oftentimes their symptoms can actually alleviate, but it's actually, pun intended, it's actually sugarcoating the symptoms and not actually promoting the healing. And this is why it's good to be patient, but it's also important to, if you are going to incorporate carbohydrates, use it sparingly, almost as a drug, because it technically is a drug. And so we actually have a whole module in our program when carbs might be necessary. I know Coach Paul was very excited to have that one in there, but you have to be very strategic with it. You don't just throw a bunch of carbs in your bloodstream again.
Yes.
So, but that's very important. It will alleviate the symptoms, but not what's causing the issue. So you really need to look at other factors like your sleep, your stress level, you know, your mouth, as Dr. Volker was saying, and many other things, the quality of your meat. Do you need to take a break from aged meat because of histamine, that sort of thing? So you have to be very careful with carbohydrates, and not just because you feel better to keep increasing them. Use them sparingly and cautiously.
So I've just noticed the bottom comment here. Carbs are fine. Saturated fat causes
insulin resistance.
Causes insulin resistance. Insulin resistance is not a pathology. If anything, the pathology is I'm eating lots of fats and lots of carbs. The moment you restrict fats and you only go on carbs, your cells are going to be in glycolysis, and it's not this cross inhibition of energy, right? Energy. Now, if you cut out the carbs, you're not going to be insulin resistant. Again, it's a construct. You can't measure this, right? It's not a pathology. It's not a problem. People label it as if it's a diagnosis. No. Just pick fats or carbs, and that will go away, right? Now, which one? Why would we pick fats over carbs? Well, fats contain nutrition, where carbs, we make all that we need. We don't get any additional nutrition. Fats also help us create more metabolic water. It also helps us to create twice minimum the amount of ATP, the body's currency that it spends to perform any task. So why would you consume sugar that rots teeth, right? If it rots teeth, that's the very first part of your digestive tract. Why would you then want it to go in anywhere else? Glycation, that's an absolute thing. Glucose, glycation, right? The addition of sugar molecules to a protein structure, or even lipids and nucleic acids, right? Why would you want to do that? So again, you go, well, look, fat, I get more nutrition. It's more anabolic because it works in synergy with the nutrition we find in animal proteins, which hence why an egg yolk and an egg white is nature's package. It doesn't give you just one or the other. When people eat eggs, some people find, okay, the whites are a bit inflammatory for me, I need to back off. But that's pertaining to nuance, where there's something gone wrong. It could be it could be phenotypical, it could be your, epigenetics, it could be something that you've triggered, that now you're sensitive to that thing. But, if you're eating ruminant meat, ruminant fatty meat, no one's allergic unless you've got that alpha-gal syndrome. Super unfortunate. It's like a carnivore's worst nightmare, isn't it? But as long as you haven't got that, it's the least inflammatory and the most nutrient dense. Again, that's a fact. We can absolutely observe that. We can absolutely identify the nutrition in animal fats and proteins compared to, for example, porridge oats and an apple or something. It's like, yeah. So
this is good. Thank you for the comments, everybody, even the ones that disagree. This is good. Sure. This is why we're here. We're here to discuss and be asked the questions. There were a couple of other controversial questions that you were asked, Lee. Can I bring them up?
Yeah, sure.
why can't we eat sweet potato? Because it's nature. it's natural. Come on, Lee.
It's man-made. It's man-made for a start. So if you look at the old tubers, they were very fibrous and very starch poor. They would have been extremely bitter. And what we've done is hybridized, modified, engineered these plant foods to be extra big, extra colorful, extra sweet. They're now available all year round. Sweet potatoes might not grow locally where you are, but hey, you go down to your supermarket and there they are. You know, sweet. It's the clues in the title there. It's going to spike your blood glucose. Insulin will be elevated. And this isn't something that's good for your body. It's going to tax your liver, tax your kidney. You're going to be glycating cells in the body, and you're going to age faster. And so also you've got to realize that there's no vitamin A in sweet potatoes or carrots, by the way. It's beta carotene. It's not retinol. So they say carrots are good for your eyes. Sweet potatoes are good for your eyes. Retina, it's retinol. And that is not found in any animal nutrition. You see some people drinking carrot juice and they go orange. Why do they go orange? Because the body couldn't even convert it all. It's becoming very toxic, and that's not what you want. So that's just one, that's just the sugar and how it's not natural and how it doesn't contain vitamin A, but it certainly doesn't contain essential fatty acids, amino acids, and all the other micronutrients. So throw it away.
Great answer. That was like you were ready for that one, weren't you? If you want to look up the origin, you can Google it. The sweet potato flour, which is pretty, you're right, Lee, was a very, actually, if you look at Survivor, even the show Survivor, when they're on like some of the islands and like in northern Canada and northern New Zealand, you could see the original, what they actually looked like, and it was just like a root, pretty much.
Yeah. Same as a carrot. Like this tiny, thin, little pale thing, or a purple or white root.
Yeah.
Again, you bite into that, and it's going to be very, very bit like chewing tobacco. You know.
Yeah. But if you were starving, I would eat it. You know.
That's when our ancestors ate plants.
Yeah.
We should definitely eat plants the way our ancestors ate plants. The ones that won't acutely poison you.
Yeah, that's right. What's that saying? It's like a vegetarian is just a meaning a bad hunter or whatever.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
There was another great question I saw about why do people doing keto need electrolytes? I love that one too.
Yeah, sure. I mean, first of all, they don't all need them. Some people find it beneficial during transitional periods. And the reason why is because when we reduce carbohydrate consumption, insulin drops and the kidney throws out the sodium, water follows, and then this offsets potassium and magnesium, etc. So what I would recommend is to transition slowly to begin with. You can use electrolytes if you like. Make sure you're getting a good, reputable supplement that contains the right forms, most bioavailable in a good ratio. But what I find is if you salt your food to taste, put a little pinch in your water as well. Sip water when you're thirsty. A big problem that people run into that they don't consider. They think like, oh, I need minerals, I need to hydrate. They overdrink water with no minerals, no electrolytes, nothing. It's just plastic bottled water. Hydration isn't about water, it's about minerals. And so if you put water in the body that doesn't have a lot of minerals, it's minerally destitute, you can't condense it. This raises blood pressure, but you're also going to flush out electrolytes. You're going to carry these away. So what you want to think about is like, it's almost not like ocean water, but plasma, if you think about it in our cells, etc., blood, it's salty. There's lots of sodium, sodium and electrolytes in there. And so what I would say to do is transition slowly first, which will help. When you do eat enough protein in one bolus. That will help give your insulin a bump. And that's enough. That's sufficient to hold on to electrolytes at the level of the kidneys, right? Another thing is just don't down loads of water. Sip it with a little pinch of salt. That way you will find it much easier. And guess what? Even if you didn't do any of these things, stay the course and it will go away because the body adjusts. What happens is the hormones balance out. The body starts to understand, okay, this is the inputs right now. This is how I'm going to have to deal with this. And there's other things that you can do. Lots of things you could do, but they're the most important things. Transition slow, salt to taste, add a little bit of salt to your water, eat enough protein in one bolus, don't drink too much water throughout the day, sip.
And that is why you are one of our professors, Lee. Professor Lee. And yet you alluded to it too, like our water, like how do you drink your water now? Like, it's filtered, it's gone through all these processes.
Yeah, so what I do, I bulk buy Voss water, so it comes in glass bottles, and it's almost like nature's distilled it, so it's a very clean water. It's kind of great with the dissolvable solids and parts per million, all this kind of stuff, super low. All I do is I open up the lid, I take a generous pinch of coarse Celtic sea salt, drop that in, give it a shake, and I stick it outside overnight. They'll go to work in the morning, and then when I come in, usually around about, say, 1 or 2, 12, depends on the weather and how much work I've got, I bring the bottle in, and then that's my water for the day. It's about 700 milliliters. I don't usually drink more than that, even during summertime. And I've realized this is that I think during summertime, you don't need to eat as much. If you look at animals, they don't eat as much. I also don't cook my fat all the way through, so I'm eating plenty of raw fat. I create lots of metabolic water, which is also low in deuterium, and you just feel amazing in that state. And so I drink that water in glass. If you can't do any of this, well, I would just say buy water in glass bottles. If you do care about how dirty it is, and it can be quite dirty, the water, distill it a couple of times and just add a pinch of salt or whatever. It's up to you whether you want to put it outside and structure it. I would only do so in glass, of course. You don't want to put it out there in plastic bottles. And that's the way I go about it. So.
See, and that's the difference. A lot of people just take out so many minerals and they don't take care of the water.
Right.
And our water is so quote unquote clean, or I guess engineered is another way of saying it. And that's another reason why, people who do go keto, they need a little bit more minerals because we're so depleted. And carbohydrates do help cause an insulin response, and that activates our kidneys to hold on to more minerals as well. So that's another reason. But like Lee said, is if you do it slowly, you will alleviate a lot of these issues. And I also, when I was talking to Coach Raymond Nazon, he said that if you do something like the priming, that will help alleviate the need to do a lot of electrolytes as well. But again, there's lots of different options, but it does take time. If you eat carbohydrates constantly, your body's used to that, right? Having all those insulin spikes throughout the day.
Exactly. That's what I mean. It's inertia. It's the amount of people. Let us know if you need to go or anything. I've got to be off at for 7 p.m. But there's levels of inertia. If you think about like what you're saying, if you're repeatedly consuming carbohydrates, say 5 times a day, 3 main meals plus snacks or sugary teas or something, and an energy drink or something like that, and you do that for like 2.5 decades. And then you switch overnight to carnivore and go, yeah, I don't feel great. It's that there's many reasons why that will be. And it's coming from a level of inertia from one dietary pattern, expecting to feel some kind of great result the next day. You won't be in ketosis for about 3 days, maybe 4 days, right? Yeah. So, you've got to bear that in mind, that there's no rush. Life is a marathon. You can't sprint a marathon. So just take it slow, incremental changes, just transition slowly. You can do substitute for one thing. You might want to just attack your breakfast and do it 1 meal at a time. You might want to take out, depending on your problem, if it's a sugar issue, take out the simple sugars, the starches. If it's a gut issue, you might want to take out the fibrous and the seed oils, those types of plants. And so that I would tailor my approach to each individual differently based on their needs, their position, their start position, their age. Are they on medications? Do they have a gallbladder? There's so much to consider, and you have to get the full picture to really meaningfully be able to address someone's problem. So when someone says, oh, I went carnivore and I had diarrhea for a month, it can't be healthy. That's because your body wasn't able to either utilize the fat that you were consuming, or there's a problem in your gut where you can't absorb the water. And so you need to slow down, you need to take it easy. And also, I tried the carnivore diet as if there's one approach.
What is that?
It doesn't exist. So my carnivore diet's different to your carnivore diet. Even if it was the same, what time did you eat first relative to when you slept? How much sleep did you get? It goes on and on and on. The amount of confounding variables is just unbelievable. So much to take and consider.
There is. And that's why I believe so much in this coaching program, is that there's going to be so many nuances, so many different variations of the carnivore diet, quote unquote. And this is why we need coaches with lots of experiences and as much knowledge as we can, so that when they're taking on a new client, this certified coach feels equipped. And if they're stuck, the next best thing is to come to the community and ask for help, right? And we have professors like you. Is that okay if I call you Professor Lee?
I'm just a window cleaner. Come on.
Professor and slash window cleaner, right?
Exactly. Yeah. No, it's great. And I think the most important thing to do, in that case, is just be totally transparent about what you're consuming, what your lifestyle's like. If you smoke weed before you go to bed, just say. Every little thing is so important. And then that person that's receiving that information, pragmatically, slowly, and thinking about it very intelligently, how do we appropriately problem solve? There's so many different ways. And again, if you speak to one coach and another coach, they may have a little bit of a different approach. They may prioritize something else over another thing, but it's about understanding. You don't need to understand all the ins and outs of all the science and the to the cellular level. I don't find that that's as helpful as it is having enough clinical experience, real life experience with people where they're like, I did this, where I was doing that, and then this happened. Why is that? How can we treat? Oh, I'm having this problem. Well, let's have a look at what you're eating. How much? When did you start eating? How many meals, meds, etc.
Yeah, and even Coach Raymond's priming protocol, I thought, okay, there's one priming protocol, and after speaking to him, I've learned that he's done dozens of different variations of it. So this is why we need coaching in the space, and that way we want people to have the full benefit of carnivore, right? And find a carnivore diet that works best for them. I know you only have a few more minutes left, but do you have any final thoughts that you wanted to finish off with, or questions?
Final thoughts. We're in this for people, Peter, I'm pretty sure that you've got your carnivore diet down and it just works, and you just cruising through life right now, right? You're probably just focusing on other things. I'm doing the same. I don't need to worry about, is this healthy? Is it going to work for me? Or I'm waiting for this to fix. Like I've kind of resolved all my problems, and I just feel like I'm living life on easy mode, as I call it, easy mode. If you want to know more about that, then join my community.
Yes, I'm a part of it.
Exactly. Yeah. So we put a video together about easy mode and how to get there, and I suppose it all intertwines. It's kind of like level 5 or whatever. It's like the advanced. When you get there, there's things you can do, and you stay the course. And the stricter it is, the easier it gets. Believe it or not, I think that certainly pertains to people with problems moderating carbohydrates and sweet, and anyone with gut, dysbiosis, compromised gut, etc. The moment sugar goes in the system, they can't handle. It's almost like a disease, like alcoholism or something. It's almost like that. They can't moderate carbs. But no, I think we're in this for the people. We just want to help people. We've got our carnivore diets down. We're taking the time here to try and reach other people, plant seeds, and maybe there was a seed planted, and now we're trying to water that seed. We're going to try and elevate that and help that plant to ascend and become something beautiful. And so that's what this is all about. And like I say, I can't put enough emphasis on how important the community is. And so if you're interested in becoming a coach, because unfortunately, like we mentioned in the beginning, people appeal to authority, and that sort of goes hand in hand with consensus. The vast majority of people want that name, want that badge or something, and so this is a way you can arm yourself, get out there and be a real force for good in the world. And so I just recommend that you go and check it out, and see what you think. See you in there, hopefully.
Yeah, I'd love to see you in there. And we have some of the students here too. Some of them were having some discussions down there. But yeah, if you have any questions about if carnivore has helped you and you want to learn from great instructors and get your certification, we welcome you to do that. Our website is carnivorecoachinternational.com. Or Lee, do you mind if people reach out to you and ask you questions about it? Or?
Yeah, I will drop the link in here. I think I haven't put it in there, but I'll drop it. The moment I get off, I'll pop your big link in there so you can take it straight to the site.
Great. Well, thank you everyone who's commented, even the people who agree and those who disagree. This is good. This is what being human is all about, like discussing, sharing ideas. And I also want to give a shout out to Ken Carnivore, because this was his first real live stream. So if you enjoyed this, let him know, and maybe he'll do more of these every day, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, sure.
Maybe not every day, but
every morning. Yeah. No.
Yeah, every morning. All right. Well, Lee, it was great having you, and thank you for allowing me to be a guest with you. I really appreciate it.
Cool.
Okay, we'll see you later.
Peace.
Peace and meat. That's right.
There you go. There you go.
Thanks, everybody.
Cheers, everyone.